So this is the elephant I've created for the elephant family parade. It's called the Elephant Parade, and the entire premise of this work is that it's created with the idea of mapping information, and maps can assume different forms. What it essentially does is to reduce complex content into a two-dimensional plane that creates a legend, i.e. that is to say a key, and the key basically allows you to interpret what each of the symbols represented in the map mean and how it distills and represents otherwise hard to assimilate data. And part of the exercise was to upcycle or repurpose as many of the National Geographic maps that were sent my way by National Geographic. And as you can see, I've laid out the world map as the base of the elephant, and then I wanted to build on this the rather complex narrative of how all the ecological and socio-economic issues are interrelated and interdependent, how resolving one crisis inevitably also means addressing other concerns in this world, and the way in which I could represent multiple stories in the form of maps on a singular three-dimensional artwork is to create these contour studies. So what I've done is create topographical contours that examine different narratives, right? So you see this particular image here shows climate change as pertaining to deforestation, loss of ecological habitats for endangered species, loss of migratory routes for highly complex keystone species like the elephant, the loss of carbon sequestration, and how that butterfly effect of just deforestation in a singular area, which we think is a localized impact, has global consequences for climate. And that's one narrative. So it's all conceptually overlaid and juxtaposed. Here's another story where I have used infographics from the climate issue from National Geographic to represent how forest fires tie into ice loss, because we have, I mean, they're all interlinked. If we have a drought in one place, then we have excessive rains in another. And so when we're looking at sea ice melt and sea levels rising, we're also examining why it is in certain other areas there's absolutely arid weather conditions, which results in the outbreak of forest fires, as we see often in California. I've tried to represent issues also on the elephant directly, where you see these symbols are actually trees that have been felled, so it's sort of the transverse sections of logging, and it shows a bulldozer having this colossal impact on a landscape, transforming it and resulting in forest fires, which is represented by the fire symbol. Then we have things like transportation that's resulting in carbon emissions, and how deforestation is loss of carbon sequestration, resulting in further carbon accumulation in the atmosphere, which results in global warming, which results in climate change. And this here is palm oil, and that's again loss of habitat, resulting in monoculture of cash crops. Here's a tractor that is basically curating this particular anthropogenic landscape. And everywhere that you see the traffic cone, it's where you need to take pause and look at what the content around it is saying. You also have shipping routes and noise pollution underwater, so the acoustic footprints of ships and planes and cars. You have things like the blood ivory issue that's represented here, from harvesting of mammoth ivory to the current obsession with passing off antiquated ivory in the marketplace, but really what it is blood ivory. So they just stain it in certain factories to age it, but it isn't really ancient ivory. It's not mammoth ivory. Oftentimes it is extant ivory, which means it's coming from elephants that had to die in Africa in order for us to acquire it in the marketplace. And that's the last case of ivory seizures. Then if you were to look, and oh, by the way, the other thing is that every single topographical contour represents an island in this world, or a mountain in this world that is currently dealing with climate change, and as a consequence of that, how its topography is being altered, whether or not sea level rise is resulting on more of the island being consumed by the water, or mountain losing glaciers and ice cover, which also affects winter sports. So you see Easter Island down there, you see the Barrier Island, numerous others represented out here. Here's the Dust Bowl from 1930s, and how, you know, further harvesting of cash crops and monoculture results in topsoil erosion, and consequently the resulting impact is that, once again, we are compromised, our welfare, our livelihood, our food security is affected. A great book based on all of this is Lester Brown's about the world at the end. I don't remember the exact title, but I found that quite a compelling read, and he's actually an optimist. Here is another image which talks about methane output from farming, and how our sedentary lifestyle has affected and sculpted the face of the earth forevermore, and how that's resulting in global temperatures rising. And here you see the impact of timber industry, the logging and loss of primary forests for indigenous tribes as well as endangered species, shrimp farming, and the loss of aquatic diversity due to bycatch, and it goes on and on. So it's just, you know, multiple issues represented. This is the cityscape, so we're also contrasting sort of the urban environment and what we're doing to the world with the natural ecosystems. But every part of the earth has in some effect been touched by man, and population growth is a huge part of that. And that's why this piece also reflects on just the Anthropocene, which is the age of man, and how human impact has affected every square inch of this planet. And then I started creating these roadways, but with words. So you see, you know, protect animals, plants, and people, the heart of life on Earth. Everybody's doing it. And it just makes you rethink the kind of roads we're creating. Are we creating pathways to solutions or to further problems? And are we really listening to what our paths thus far have unveiled to us? Are we paying attention? So yeah, this was a lot of fun to create, and I used up the braid of the map to create its toes. In a nutshell, I brought it to life in every regard through signs, symbols, and elements of mapping that are found as a key to a universal language, something that everybody can look at and comprehend. Like when you see this, you know that's the symbol of an eye, but it's also the eye of violence because it's the gun trigger in there. This is obviously a trap. And are we walking into traps? Are we looking at the issue of trapping? This symbol here is the symbol of extinction, and this is to question whether we're banking on extinction, which we kind of are. But yeah, I just wanted to quickly show you what this work looked like, so that before it got picked up today, that we had a quick insider look